What's happening? Dustin here with Dustin's Customs, and today I'm going to take things a little differently. It's going to be a talking head video and maybe a few little snips and pics of a story. I have told the story about this Mustang once before, but this time I just want to tell the story or stories that I've had in this car. Now, for a quick refresher, this was my mom's car. She gave it to me about 4 or 5 years ago. The car had a blown motor set in South Carolina. It's originally a Florida car from Gary Yeoman's in Daytona Beach, Florida. Got the car back from South Carolina with a new motor in it, drove it for about a year or two, did some YouTube channel things with it, and then we went ahead and parked the car and started working on it. I've tried to make a rear mount turbo. I've tried to make this front mount that I'm still working on, and there's a video coming out on that where I got a predicament if I need to switch turbo sizes or just buy a real turbo kit. But for everybody that's had a Mustang, I'm sure there's a bunch of enthusiasts out there, there's purists out there. And for this Mustang in particular, I've said time and time again, I don't want to cut the car up. I want to be able to return the car back to stock one day. So I would prefer to find a car that's not this, but another new edge that I can cut up. Maybe LS swap, maybe Terminator swap one day when the money's there. Who knows what the future will bring, but as of this car, we're going to keep it as a street strip car that I don't want to crash or cut up. But I have a lot of stories in this car. Like I've said in my previous Mustang story about this car, I've been to prom, homecoming. Me and my friends would take this car out on the weekends. I would just feel special. I would feel exhilarated, if you per se, to drive this car. This was back in the day. I'll never forget one time getting into this story. We're all at my friend Jamie's house, and Jamie's house was kind of like the place where we would all kind of meet up. Me, I was always the early bird. I'd wake up about 6:30 in the morning. I'd go around and knock on people's windows, wake them up, and once they got everybody awake, we'd all get on our bicycles because we all rode BMX, and we are pretty good on BMX and dirt bikes and stuff. We're good on two wheels. And a lot of us, that's all we did all day. We rode BMX, we built box jumps, went to the skate parks. So I rounded up everybody one day. You know, this is later on. By now we've got our driver's license. I think I was 17 at the time. And went and knocked on everyone's door. Got my buddy Mike up, got my buddy Jason went over and woke up Joey, and Joey said, "Yeah, I'll be there. I gotta take a swap, man." And yeah, he takes baby swats. So, you know, I'm like, "All right, go ahead." He's like, "Oh, you got your mom's car? Cool, man. Cool, man. Can I drive it later?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't. Oh, come on, man. His mom had a California special at the time. Or his mom eventually got a California special. Another story. But anyways, I think she had a Mustang at the time, or a Cougar, or a Mark 8 or something like that. And he's like, "Come on, man, let me drive the Mustang. Let me drive the Mustang. I'll come over to Jamie's if you let me drive the Mustang." So I'm like, "All right, man, meet me at Jamie's." And so I went ahead and drove over to Jamie's, and we're all hanging out. Basically, all we did is, 17-year-old things. We're not going to get into that. Go over to Jamie's house. We're standing in the front yard. We're doing our BMX tricks in the road. Everyone kind of finally gets up out of bed and meets over there. And I drove over there instead of rode a bike. And we're standing over at Jamie's, and we're kind of partying. We called up some people. It kind of got a little rowdy. It's later on in the day now. We're done riding BMX up and down the road. And Joey comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, you said I could drive the car if I didn't fuck around and I come over." I'm like, "Yeah, I did. I said you could drive the car." And at the time I was talking to somebody, and I really didn't want to leave the party, because it's what it turned into, as a party. And, so I'm like, "Yeah, man, here, take the keys, bro, take the keys." And continue talking to who I was talking to, and all of a sudden I hear, "Whoa, whoa." Now, we lived over in a place called Harbor Oaks at the time. It's considered Volusia County, and it's real close to Daytona. Now it's considered Port Orange. When we all lived there, it was considered Harbor Oaks. The only people that patrolled was the sheriff's office, so we all rode dirt bikes and four-wheelers up and down the roads and kind of raced hell. We were right there on the river directly across from Ponce Inlet Lighthouse, so we could take our little boats over to Ponce Inlet, and it's like 2 or 3, 5 minutes there. And he's like, I'm going to take the Mustang. I'm just going to go down to the 3 bridges and turn around and come back. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything else. And I'm like, Joey, do not wreck my mom's car. She didn't know nothing about this. I'm like, do not wreck the car. Don't even get on it. Just drive it normal. And you hand a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old keys to a Mustang GT. And at the time, these were pretty fast cars because they were pretty new. And I handed him the keys, and I'm like, yeah, man, just be careful. I don't want to have any problems. And we've had a lot of close calls before, and it's just one of many stories. And Joey's like, yeah, I'll be careful. So I hear that, or I'm talking to somebody, and I hear, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, God dang it, Joey. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, is that Joey? He's like, bro, he's ripping your mom's car. And I'm like, he's ripping. I'm like, we better go get him. So all of us hop in cars, skateboards, bicycles. There's probably like 20 of us by now. And we go around to the back road to the 3 bridges is what we call it. We call it the 3 bridges. We go the back road on Riverside over to the 3 bridges, come out right there next to the first bridge headed south. And there's Joey. He's going down the 3 bridges. And he's turning around and doing a U-turn, and he's coming back. He's doing about 120 miles an hour. And he's just flying by, and we're waving our hands. We're like, stop. You're going crazy. You're going to crash the car. And he just looks at us, and he laughs, and he floors it right past us, and may have shot us a bird or something. And we're yelling and screaming. And finally, he pulls up there by the restaurant there and by the 3 bridges. And he's like, did you hear how fast I was going, man? I was going fast. I was like, Joey, get out of the car. He's like, you said I could drive. I'm like, I said be careful. He's like, I was careful. I didn't crash. And you just hear the tink, tink, tink from the motor being so hot and the brakes being so hot. He rode the car pretty hard, but we all got back, and we were kind of shooting the stuff about it. And Joey's like, man, I went 130. And we're like, no, you didn't. You didn't go no 130. You were scared. He's like, I went 130. And we're like, all right, maybe you did. It kind of did sound like you were going 130. And it's just one of them things that you'll never really forget. Old Joey, he's, let me drive it. I'll drive it safe. And he went down the 3 bridges about 130 miles an hour. And it was just one of those things. You're all partying. Yeah, bro, here, take the keys. I said you can do it. And by then, y'all are riled up, and he's out there, He was completely by himself. There was no one in the car with him, so he had no one to show off to. Just like all of us, he wanted to know what it felt and sounded like to rip a car that, in its day, was pretty fast. And this was probably in 2002 or 2003. Somewhere in there. It might have been 2002 summer going into 2003. I graduated 2004. So we were all pretty close to being graduated and kind of starting to mature a little bit. And we have seen our fair share of crashes and people getting hurt and dying. And luckily he didn't lose control. We went back to that party, and we kind of, we were a wild bunch. We'd get sock and boppers and them big old sock and bopper things, and we would box. I think one night I did 7 or 8 rounds in a row, and we considered it a round until a person dropped. So it was 7 or 8 people. I boxed and hit my buddy Alex, and he said, "Oh, it's over, it's over." It's one of the things you would have had. It's over. I hit him one time in the face with a sock and bopper. But yeah, we'd box, and we were a pretty rowdy bunch. And old Joey was a little bit conservative, but man, he got in that car and he just ripped it down the road, and that's all we could hear. We're standing probably 2 blocks away, and we could hear this Mustang, which is completely stock at the time. I think it had a cold air intake. It might have had the Diablo tune or something. Just flying down the road as loud as can be. I mean, just wham! And it was right around the same time that the Dodge Hemis came out. And on that same bridge, just to butt into this story a little bit, on that same bridge one day, there was a red single cab Hemi. We got side by side. We did a 30 to 100 roll. And the Dodge Hemi in the 2000s was about a car length behind the Mustang. And we raced 4 or 5 times from like 30 to 100 and something. So yeah, this car is about the same quickness as a Dodge Hemi when it was back in the day. So if that tells you how slow or how quick it was, it really wasn't that fast of a car. It sounded good. It felt fast. The only thing it has going for it is how light it is. I think this one right here is like 2,900 pounds. It's this one's pretty light, and I've lightened it up quite a bit. So yeah, we had a lot of good times. I mean, there's been times that I've been out and I've just hydroplaned this car and this close to just coming down some fence post, and just a lot of good times in these cars. Old Joey there, he let her rip, and he scared me to death. God, I thought he was gonna wreck my mom's car, and we all had a lot of fun in this car in high school. My mom would let me take it on the weekends and let me borrow it, and I said, Mom, let me borrow the car, and it still had that new car, It was a brand new car at the time. We bought it in 2000, and it was a 2001. So we bought it late 2000, and it's 2001. And it was a showroom model. It was the one that was in the showroom. A couple extra coats of clear. So at the time it was a little shinier. Right now it's kind of dirty from sitting out here in this barn and everything, but. That's just a story I thought I'd tell with you guys. We were all a crazy bunch, and we got out there and was partying, and it's nothing like partying and handing your keys away to some friend that he went out there and ripped it, and I can't say that I was mad at him, because to this day I look back and I'm like, we were all partying so hard, and I just handed the keys off to a Mustang GT to one of my friends and let him rip it by himself, and thank God he came back and one piece, because these things will get away from you. This one right here kind of snaps to the left a little bit when it shifts, so if you don't know what you're doing, it'll come out from underneath you. Just because it's a 2 valve doesn't mean it can't get away from you. And building this turbo kit right now, like, I don't know what I should do, but probably should just get an on-3 kit or a supercharger is what I'm thinking. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you have any stories about your Mustangs, or any times you were in high school? I'll try to get a little better at these stories and talk about, because I probably have 10 good stories that I remember, and these stories are one of the reasons why this car is so special to me. And I'm not a purist. I don't mind changing the car, just like a BMX bike. Get a BMX bike, you put better parts on it. Same thing with this car, but I do want to get another new edge, or probably a new edge, because they're bolt-on power. They're pretty easy, and either LS swap it or put a 4 valve or Coyote or something in it. But that's way down the road. Let's get this thing street driven. I've been looking into superchargers and turbo kits. The car's set up. Basically, I need a few more suspension components, and then I need a power adder, and I have all the forged internals to go in the motor. So maybe I don't know when it's going to be done. It's just a project of passion and love. So we'll have many more stories to tell. But stay tuned. I got another 9 or 10 stories for you I can tell you about this car, and some of them are a little more crazy, and this one I thought was a good soft story to start off with, because my childhood was probably not what a lot of people or parents want to hear about, and it's pretty wild. Our little group of friends was a wild bunch. If you can understand, we grew up going to all the spring breaks, and this is our home turf, and we grew up right here in Daytona Beach, in the outskirts of Daytona Beach, where maybe it's a little more preppy or whatever you want to say, but we had some wild times, and a lot of them times were actually in this car. There's one time, I'll tell you, maybe this will be my next story, Killer Mike. My buddies out there, if you're watching my videos, remember Killer Mike? I got 2 bones fused together in my hand from that guy, and he punched me through the window of the car, and that's another story for another time. And this is Dustin's Customs with a old story from back in the day of this Mustang. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.